Cool. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ohio State Football with Scarlet and Great here on YouTube. It has been a while. Johnny here. I'll see if I remember how to keep doing this and how to still do this. It's been a bit, but we're back in action. Month of July, we committed to coming back. So we have some videos already rolling on the channel. I have a very special guest with us today. Since we are back in action, I wanted to bring you the best content I could. Part of us being back, bigger, better, bolder, and blacker. Now we've brought on Menace to Sports very only number one, Chris Drew, and he's going to help us get through the 2024 recruiting class of commitments for the Buckeyes. So we're going to continue to do this stuff. So subscribe to this channel for more Buckeye content as the season approaches and throughout the season. We're excited to bring this to you today. As always, Chris, thank you for joining. I think this is your first time on the video version of Scarlet and Great, correct?
Second. Yes, I did it. I did an episode with Corey way back. He said I look like Justin Fields and look like mini Justin Fields. I just remember that way back in the day.
Oh wow, that has been a while. Yeah. Well, Corey, it was actually Corey's idea to bring you on.
Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah. Well, he said, hey, let's bring on Chris for to boost our numbers with the black crowd. And I said, well, Corey, why don't we just bring Chris on because he's actually a good guest to bring on? Why don't we just do it for that reason? And he said, whatever. And I was like, all right. Well, I don't know. I was like, well, I like the ideal, not for the same reasons, but I like the ideal. All right, Chris, your bit, you have Chris's Corner on Menace on the Menace platform. You've been passionate into recruiting for years and years. You've just been silent about it, not trying to be a pretend Twitter recruiting guru, which is really respectable. You probably could have put on more than you did, honestly, with the information you have.
Yeah, remember way back in the day, bro, when me and you first met each other, like I was quietly kind of listening and waiting and asking questions of people in the know. And I decided I never wanted to be kind of more power to them. Like all the Buckeye pages do that. I just never could put myself in a mode to just do that, have my whole page dedicated to that. But no, yeah, I've been into recruiting for a long time now.
Yeah, and you had info way before you ever share. I know you've given me some good info before, and you were just like, hey, I don't care what you do with this. It just don't mention me, which is cool. So we'll get into this, guys. I want to know if you would comment, please, below your favorite 2024 Ohio State Buckeye football commit. If you could drop that in the comments, I want to know who people are most excited about. We're going to stick on the offensive side of the ball for this video. The next one, we'll get in the defensive side of the ball. Chris, I just have a quick question because I really want to know. I want to know how much is hype, and I want to know how much is, hey, this is legitimate, just talent. How good is Aaron Noland?
I think Aaron Noland's really good. I think everything we heard about him kind of leading up through this whole recruitment process was all a lot of good things. And honestly, the stuff that like you're going to see years down the line talked about in like a college game day segment, the fact that on all of his visits, he took a notebook with him and kind of wanted to run through offensive game plans with each head coach and OC from place to place he went. That's kind of how he started to do his like who's fraud and who's a real quarterback guy development process. I mean, you hear the stories about, I mean, this is a kid, a guy who for a while, his dad was having him, take snap after snap after snap and kind of get the footwork right, being a left-handed quarterback and kind of the difference of progressions. So I like the kid a lot. I think he's really, really good. I think he absolutely earned that 5-star rating. I think him going to the Elite 11 and kind of flashing the accuracy the way he did in bunches was really, really important for him. And he's a kid that in the second, toughest division in Georgia high school football threw for 4,000 yards and 55 touchdowns. Like that's absurd and undefeated record in the state champion. And really, like when you do that in Georgia high school state football, that puts you up there kind of near or inching up the mountain of the guys that have dominated high school football in Georgia for forever now. Guys like Deshaun Watson, guys like Trevor Lawrence, guys like Justin Fields, who put up silly junior years and had huge senior years. That's what he's on the verge of doing. Now, in the state of Georgia, he might end up being a little bit overshadowed by the best quarterback in the state, not Dylan Raiola, who's now at Buford, but Juju Lewis. That will might be the reason why he doesn't get more and more hype, but the kid's an absolute freak. And here we go. I have a fun fact for you. Did you know, Johnny, that there's been concerns about his athleticism, but can he run the ball, this, that? Him and Aaron Scott have the same 200-meter dash time. So I'm ready to push a narrative at some point, and that Aaron Scott, obviously the corner from Springfield, but that's just something. So he's got above the shoulders, A+, below the shoulders, maybe not the strongest arm, but super, super accurate. Everything looks effortless, a really tight spiral, really similar to kind of in terms of athletic profile and throwing profile as CJ Stroud we saw in 18 or whatever class that was, or 21, whatever. So I think he's really good, and I'm really excited for him. But above the shoulders, A+, got the arm talent you need. Really, really polished already. He's going to come in probably more polished than Lincoln Kineholtz will. And then also add that with the straight line speed, at least, the same 200-meter time as kind of the Buckeyes' number one corner target left on their board.
That's pretty fantastic. Now, I did like that explanation. And I did like the story about asking each coach, "Hey, what's the offensive game plan?"
Mm-hmm.
That coach or that question seems tailor made for Ryan Day. I would, if you told me that somebody handled that question better than Ryan Day, I would have trouble believing you, especially if it was off the cuff, right? As long as Day got to be present for it, it wasn't like Justin Fry or Brian Hartline on that, but. Okay, devil's advocate, real quick.
Okay.
There was a guy I listened to in recruiting. I've listened to him for a while. Last year, I remember him saying that Dylan Raiola was what he thought was the best football or best recruit of all time. Something along those lines. This guy I listened to, I respect his opinion a lot. He's on Menace to Sports platform, and he was really going hard for Dylan Raiola. Now, if I'm a Georgia fan, this is what I'm saying. Dylan, we went and said, hey, don't go to Ohio State because we're the big boys on the block. You come here, and people do what we say. And by the way, Buckeye fans, you have a Georgia high school football commit with no offer from Georgia. So you got a lot of grown men twerking over a kid that couldn't play here. What would you say to a Georgia fan that would say that?
At the time when I talked about Dylan Raiola, he was coming off a huge sophomore campaign. And there's the ebbs and flows of like progression. Dylan Raiola, to me, at that estimation, I thought was going to be a really good player. I thought he was going to remain a 1.0 quarterback. But after their junior seasons, if you look at all of them, it's like, okay, Dylan Raiola against Basha, Miles Lockhart's team, by the way, threw for under 100 yards in a state playoff game. Like, to me, that means something.
Yeah.
To me, that is super, super important and telling. And I talked to Miles about it. He said, yeah, we couldn't wait to get them because I knew what type of time it was. And so for me, that happening. And then on the flip side, it'd be different if like other guys like Julian Sayin didn't perform well. No. Julian Sayin went absolutely nuclear his junior year, and nobody tried to hide his junior year tape. Also, Aaron Noland, late riser, obviously later than the other two, absolutely nuclear. Like I mentioned, 55 touchdowns over 4,000 yards. Not a single school held him under 100 yards passing. And he played against similar competition, super comparable. Some may argue even better. So I think, honestly, the progression of Dylan Raiola in a vacuum got stunted by the constant moving of schools. I think there's no way that you can have consistent quarterback growth if you transfer that many times, because then it becomes about not so much fundamental work. It's like you have there's no continuity with that. And so I think that may be the thing that's stunted his growth a little bit. We'll see how he does at Buford this next year. But also the Georgia offer thing is really funny at this point. And I think part of it, here's two parts of it. I think that Georgia thought they were done recruiting after they got Pug from Massachusetts. Really, no offers went out. The Dylan Raiola offer is more of that like staple offer. It's he's the number one quarterback in the country. His dad's best friend is a Georgia legend, Matt Stafford. He's expressed interest here. Matt goes to Kirby. Hey, let's get that offer out. I mean, I think that if Pug was not committed, Aaron Noland would absolutely have a Georgia offer. I think that more it's about like Pug was in way before. And also like Jelani Thurman also didn't have a Georgia offer. He's from Georgia.
So he's not good enough to play big boy football either.
I
No, I'm
guess
just
not.
kidding.
Even though he's 6'6" and blocking defensive ends, and everyone raves about how he's a freak. I mean, sometimes I think Georgia does the thing where they kind of lock in on their guys, and then they won't really extend offers to continue recruiting, and that's fine. And we'll see in a couple of years how Georgia feels about Aaron Noland, because my guess is they'll be like, damn, that should have been a kid that maybe we offered.
Yeah, and do you think? Well, I just always think about whether it's Juju or anybody like Air Noland with 3 years of Ryan Day, um, Dylan Raiola with 3 years of Kirby Smart, right?
Mhm.
Well, obviously I know not
Well,
that
Mike
Kirby's not,
Bobo,
yeah,
but
but
it's
still,
the
you know
greater
what I
than
mean?
thing. Yeah, absolutely, it's the greater than. It's the greater than. I mean, there was a window where Michigan had better quarterback recruits than Ohio State. Like that, I believe they had 2 recruits that were ranked higher than Dwayne Haskins, and it became the with Ryan Day versus with whoever was over there at Michigan at the time. I mean, that's kind of
Oh,
what
yeah.
it became.
There's
Like,
0% chance Shea Patterson spends 3 years with Ryan Day or even 2 and is undrafted,
oh, not a
right? Like,
chance.
not a chance.
Like, not a
Now,
chance. And then it's like CJ Stroud with 3 years of Ryan Day is greater than DJU with 3 years of Streeter.
how do you figure? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Because
That's
I'm
pretty
not
easy to
Stevie
see.
Wonder. I'm not
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder. And even if I would, I could still come up with something.
I think Stevie could still see that one. All right. Moving on from the obvious. Give me a standout or two in this class on the offensive side of the ball, Chris, that you're really excited about.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go with the super basic answer. That's obviously Jeremiah Smith. He's an alien. He's built in a lab. He does things that you shouldn't be able to do. I saw him against the number 1 corner for American Heritage, Damari Brown, who had a Bama offer, a Miami offer, and an Ohio State offer. Go absolutely nuclear to ice the game. And like Jeremiah is, get this, Johnny. Jeremiah is so good that Brandon Ennis against that team said, "I want to play safety as well." Like that's how good he is.
Wow.
Which is wild. And also in that game from the safety spot, Ennis forced a fumble and recovered it. But the one guy that I'm kind of loving, and I cannot wait to see what he brings yak-wise, is Mylan Graham. I think Mylan has real upside as a track athlete to kind of be that standout speedster that we've been missing. Because we had it with JMO, but we wouldn't play him.
Yep.
It feels like we have it right now with Ballard. It looks like we won't play him either. But the way the wide receiver plates
Chris
are
already
shifting,
calling it. Guys, don't get excited about Jaden Ballard. We're already calling it.
I mean, I'm excited. I'm just waiting to see somebody play one of the fast guys, before it's too late. But with Mylan Graham, the way the receiver room is shaking up, it looks like the receiver room might get cleared out for him, that they'll just have no choice but to play him. So I'm excited about him. And last big time receiver we got from Indy was who?
Oh, I'm
Scary
I'm
Terry McLaurin.
yeah. I was
And
thinking Fort Wayne. I was thinking Return
got
of
you.
the Mac, but yeah. Okay. We can go with Scary Terry. Yeah, Scary Terry.
And then I do want to float some crumbs to the Armstrong twins. Not saying that, just floating it out there. Fry was at Florida during, the Pouncey twins were at Florida, and now Fry is at Ohio State, and the Armstrong twins are coming in, 1 guard, 1 tackle. Not saying they're that, but just those are kids from my area that I'm really excited about on the O-line.
Well, I will give you one more. I'm currently sitting very close to where the Armstrong twins went to high school. So,
Yeah, go to high school. You're by the Eds, yeah.
yeah, and I mean, even some of the locals here send their kids to
Mhm.
St. Ed's. Obviously it's a town or two over, but it's not far. For sure, football powerhouses going on there. So we like those names. And I want, and you may have already answered this, Chris. You may have already answered this, but I do want to know from the field, from YouTube land out there, who's being slept on. Who out there is being slept on, real quickly, on the offensive side of the ball. Chris, is there anyone you think like doesn't get the proper love that they should in this class?
Yeah, Mark Nave is a freak. Nave is a freak show. That's the interior offensive lineman. He's a real bully, kind of in every front. I'm not super high on the Jordan Lyles kid. I'm excited to see what he does at St. Thomas Aquinas, but he's a name that if he has a big year, you could start to hear some more chatter. But there's a belief that he might be the backup over there at St. Thomas Aquinas. That commit really surprised me. But Mark Nave on the offensive line, I think is going to be a staple and a guy that's gonna really gain some fans as they see how good he is on that interior.
Wyatt Davis 2.0.
I'm never going to call anybody Wyatt Davis 2.0. That kid made the all Big Ten decade team. I almost said his name, but then I steered clear of it because,
Well, because you think of guard play and you're like, yeah, as long as you're good, you can just plug and play with guards. And Wyatt Davis is the one guard I've ever seen that I was like,
a mauler.
yeah, I'm like, this is probably one of the best players on the team. Like,
Yeah, a mauler.
he's one of the few I've seen. Like, I don't think you can replace that. So that may have been a little cavalier of me. So we'll live with that. All right, Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. We'll be back, guys, here in just a couple days. You'll see the defense breakdown video. Always like, comment, subscribe. We're glad that you're here. It is good to be back. As always, goodbye. God bless. And go Bucks.